Okay, cool. We're live. Oh, and we even have Barbara. How cool is that?
Yes,
Wow.
I estimated on time. There's hope.
So there is hope. Absolutely. So welcome everyone to Run Wild with us. You can ask us whatever you want. I'm Lisa Kastner. I'm the founder of Running Wild, and I'm here. Previously, I was saying with our editors, but in reality, I think we all have multiple hats. So I'm just saying, the folks behind the scenes.
Mhm.
Barbara, I was just complaining because that's always fun. How my websites got both shut down today. I got one back. The Running Wild one got back up, but my the one like just for my stuff is still down. And they're like, "Oh, well, you have all these updates you need to make, and that's why it's not up." And I thought, well, why couldn't you have told me that before you took the site down? Like that would have been, productive. But yeah. So I just connected Barbara to a new author to work with. So that should be cool.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's one of the, fingers crossed. She's one of the ones who's like super eager, like kept emailing me. So when am I going to be assigned an editor? And I was like, as soon as, one's available, basically. And, I kept explaining that the way we work is we give the editors options in terms of if they want to work on something or not,
Mhm.
and so she just kept, coming back and coming back. And I was just, so Barbara was kind enough to say, you know what, I can take this on. It'll give me a couple weeks, but I can take it on. So that was very generous. So Peter.
Hello.
Hey, I remembered this morning. You'll be proud of me, or you'll hate my guts. Either one, it's fine. That I need to harass you because you owe me a book, meaning yours.
I do. I know I do. I do not forget that. I'm working on it.
Yeah.
It will happen.
Where's proof that you're working on it? You're gonna start getting a deadline, man. You've been working on this book how long now?
It's been a while. My first book took me 4 years to write, working every night. Mm-hmm. But I had no life back then, so it's like I would come home from work, I would have dinner, and I would sit down and just write. Right till 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. Now I've got this wonderful life. I got a beautiful wife. I mean, it's like I've got cramming book writing and creation in like an hour and a half, 2 hours at most at night. So it takes time. And I didn't know what I know now. I didn't know then. It was much easier to write before I knew how to write, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't know what rules you're breaking. You just bombed it all on the page, and wow, that looks great. And then you learn the rules, and you learn what to do and what not to do. It's like, oh my god, now they got the critic at the back in the easy chair at the back of your head going, no, you got to do this, you got to do this. You're constantly rewriting the first scene. So I will break through that wall like Mario. Don't worry about it. I will make sure that this book gets done because I have a publisher demanding my book. So
yeah, we're good at this. Like, do it.
It's a beautiful place to be. Beautiful place to be. How's everybody else doing?
I'm working on mine. That's what reminded me that I needed to bug you. So, but like, it was funny. I was telling Ben, every time I write a book, it's like the first third of the book is just like complete crap. Like I have to keep revising it based on the completed draft because like now I know what hints need to be there and like, how the voice has to be positioned and, what the tone of it is and why it's that tone back to all your points, Peter. So it's like,
right.
And then I always hit points where I'm like, oh my God, that's good. I wrote that. And like, why do I have this section? Like I always have sections where I realize it's in the wrong part, you know?
Mhm.
So either I have to completely revise it or I have to take it out, like just blatantly take it out because where it's needed is there, right? It's just that I have it
Right.
repeated. Mhm. So yeah, and or like some transitions just don't work at all. It's like, ooh, wow, that sucked. Okay, hold on.
So when you get it right, and you're like, you just sit back and go, wow, I wrote that. That's cool.
That's true. That is true. Yeah. So I think I'll be done this version of editing hopefully by the end of this weekend. And then I have one
Wow.
more layer to go through. And then I'll send it off to a couple of key beta readers who call bullshit on me all the time, which is perfect. Like that's what you want,
Yes.
So
Well, that's what you do, so
yeah,
why not?
like why the hell did I do that? Why did you do that? That makes no sense. Oh. So yeah, that's my latest. And I'm still waiting on, I have a couple of authors who wrote short stories and novellas for some anthologies that I'm still waiting for the revised version. But I think I may have scared them because, with any writing, a lot of times thematically there'll be changes that need to be made, in terms of craft. And in both instances, they both had that. It was that kind of thing, right? Like, I know, I think I know what you're trying to do here. Here's a recommendation for how, you can do it much more effectively. But here's this has to be revised. So I think I scared them both. How about you guys? What are you up to, Cecilia?
So I'm working on about 5 or 6 manuscripts, editing, and I think I have one that might be ready soon, maybe. So I'm going through that one, and it depends on when the author's comfortable with it too. From what I'm seeing, I think it's looking good, and so I have another one who went through a major revision, and I was able to get that one back to him, and I think that one's going to come together pretty soon too. So I'm seeing the light at the end of the tunnel for some of these, and then I've got a new one that we're just starting. So 5 to 6 manuscripts, but they're coming along and they're a lot of fun. And then I am starting to write a story, a memoir, but it's humor and it's based on all the jobs I've ever worked in my life. And I'm counting imaginary jobs, like when I was a child. I'm counting, my dad used to be, he's a retired scientist and a chemist, and he worked on Barbie doll legs. And he would bring them home when I was 8 years old for me to test out. So that was like one of my first jobs as well. I tested Barbie doll legs. So these are just fun things, so like everything that I've ever done. So yeah.
Tested Barbie doll what?
I did legs. Just their legs. Just the legs.
That's okay. Slightly creepy, right?
Oh, it was. I mean, he used to come home with a briefcase of them and then just like dump them out on a countertop. He'd be like, "See, get over here. We're going to test these. You have to rub the legs." See, what happened was little girls all over the United States, like 8-year-old girls, were writing angry letters because they couldn't get a pair of pants on Barbie. Her legs were too sticky. So they needed a chemist to like make the legs a little less sticky, but they still had to feel like human legs. So I had to run this cloth over the legs. And if it got hung up, then it wasn't going to work. And he had to go back to the lab. And so I got to tell him as many times as I wanted, this isn't working. And he couldn't get mad at me. So yeah. And then one day it did. It worked a little bit better. And he's like, experiment's over. No more Barbie doll legs. You're
still collecting royalties, right?
Well, no. So he was contracted. He was contracted to do this. Well, the company that he worked for was. And so he was one of the people on the projects. But I didn't have a Barbie doll. I collected like plush toys, and I ran
wow.
around outside and played. I didn't really have dolls. But I did get, my dad bought me one, after that was all over with. I think I got the Barbie van, which was like cool, right? The Barbie van, with a little ladder on the outside that went up to the pool and the deck. It was just all stickers. I was so disappointed to find out that it was just stickers at the top of the pool and everything, but I thought it was an actual.
You were the little girl that approved the Barbie doll legs and made it happen. That's so awesome.
See?
Yeah, it was. So that was my first job. That was my first one. And then it goes downhill from there.
I feel like all the jobs I had, like when I was a kid or before I had a real degree, are much more interesting than anything that I had post official degree, being smart.
Yeah.
What you do now?
Am I going to include what I do now? Maybe, as long as I don't give any secrets away. I can't give secrets away.
And you have no idea what we're talking about.
And we're talking about so what were your first jobs?
Like even as a child, it doesn't have to be like your first paying job, but like, things you did.
Just left Barbie.
They were legal.
You're up.
I'm up. Me? Is it me?
It is now. Shut up.
Well, the first job was probably hauling hay in Kentucky. And right after that was stripping tobacco in Kentucky.
Yeah.
Even on Christmas Eve. I remember stripping tobacco on Christmas Eve one year.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Well, it had to get done.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then and I actually went to a college that had a student industries for everybody. So everybody had a job, and it was graduated to where you got so much per hour, and the rest went to your tuition, and it was need based. The more you got. I got $1 an hour for making brooms.
Okay.
Yeah. And brooms are actually made out of corn. And my job was to go down and be the first one in Broomcraft to put the hot water in the vats, and then they told me what color they needed the broom corn, and I would put the dye in and then put the corn in the dye.
Oh. Okay.
And I didn't have any clothes. My first year of college, I didn't have any clothes that weren't dyed. with
I'm sure.
Broom corn dye. But it was Berea College in Kentucky. So you may see Berea College Student Industries. They sold their stuff all over the world.
Oh,
It's very Appalachian.
nice.
Two jobs I never knew existed.
Yeah. Nah, I can't.
Somebody had to make the brooms.
Mine are more simplistic. It's like I went because I grew up in southern New Jersey, and we had tons of they would have these berry picking farms where you could go and the whole families whatever you picked you basically kept.
Yeah.
So when I was a little kid, that was like a big thing, was for families to go like berry picking, or like around Halloween, you can go pick like squash, pumpkin, right? Like that kind of thing. But I think my first official job was I was the assistant paper delivery boy or guy, I don't know, whatever, with my dad. Because he had gotten he was out of work and he just needed money, and so he took a couple of local paper delivery routes for the Courier Post, and I was all kinds of proud to help him deliver the papers. And at the time it was fun because you basically just toss it right into someone's front
Yeah.
yard and kind of like run for it.
Yeah.
So at like 5, 6 years old, that was the bomb.
That
Like
is
that
great.
was,
Yeah.
you know, but I'm liking this broom thing and the Barbie doll thing. Like, dear Lord. How about Peter? How about you? What was like your first job ever?
My first job ever was working for my mother.
Oh
She
yeah.
was an antique dealer growing up. She had an antique shop, and she would do shows all around the Chicago area. And the one I remember the most was the Evanston garage sale. It would take place in this huge 12-story garage, and they would just fill every parking space with booths to about like 5 or 6 floors up. And we would always be on the first floor. She'd wake us up at like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. Say, come on, we're loading up the car. So we load up the car with all these antiques. We drive to Evanston, and we unload it. We stop, park the car in a parking lot, and climb over a concrete wall to get to our booth. We set everything up, set all these antiques up, and I'm like 8 years old, no idea what money is or anything like that. And people would come through. I mean, it was a mob scene. And I learned how to bicker. I learned how to barter back there. You're like, oh, I'll give you $12 then. Okay, how about 15? Because it's March 16. So we go back and forth, and we settle on like $14. And then it had me at 20. And I'm like, well, you have the money to pay $15. Why are you haggling with me to pay only 14? You have the money. I just didn't quite get the concept. Like, well, if you got the money, why are you arguing with me? But we did that for years, every weekend, just for years. And just unloading antiques. We had these wax-coated chicken boxes that she would get from somewhere that they would bring chickens to grocery stores in. And that's what we would store the antiques in because they didn't break down.
Yeah.
Wrap them up in baby diapers, put them in chicken boxes where dead chickens were hauled in, put antiques in that went anywhere from 20 to 80 years old, and sell them on card tables. So that was growing up for Pete.
All right. How about you, Barbara? What was your first like official job?
Oh, I used to pick strawberries and grapes, and I worked in this one vineyard that was near my house, and it wasn't well taken care of. And we got, I think, 15 cents a bushel. So that shows you how old I am. And it was really a poorly taken care of vineyard. So it took you almost a whole row to get a bushel. When in a good vineyard, you could pick a bushel standing still, and yeah, not exciting, not interesting. Just, I lived in the country, so those were the kind of jobs that were available.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, no.
One for the bushel, one for you. One for the bushel, one for you.
Oh yeah, right. Put one in the cart, one in your mouth, one in the cart. Well, for anybody who's watching, don't forget, you are more than welcome. Please go ahead and pop any kind of questions that you have in the comments section of whatever venue you are watching. Typically what we'll do is we will repeat the question and then take turns in responding to it. So definitely. And if you're watching this recording, same thing. Go ahead, toss your questions in whatever venue you're watching, and we'll respond to those questions in the subsequent week. So, so we got a really cool announcement this week, more of like a preview. So it turns out Shonda Buchanan, who wrote The Lost Songs of Nina Simone, she actually won an American Library Association award. And that will be announced, I'm guessing, next week. The official announcement, I'm guessing, will come out next week. So really looking forward to that. She already put out a live stream video on like Facebook and Instagram and everything about it. So I'm just waiting for the American Library Association to come back with their official press release regarding it. So really excited that we've got that going on. So, and we actually have had a couple of other books nominated for ALA awards recently. So those I can't really talk about just because it's more of nominations, but again, it should be very just thrilled that our stuff's getting that kind of visibility. Mm-hmm. So cool. So what else? So okay, here's a writerly question that I haven't asked in a bajillion years. So what got you guys initially into writing and then subsequently editing? I'll pick on Barbara first because I never pick on you first. So
I already told you my story about what got me into writing is seeing this painting in a museum. But I realized, so I wrote a novel, and I like it very well. But I knew what was wrong with it, and I was disinclined to fix it. And I'm much better at nonfiction. I mean, I can spot what's wrong with fiction, but yeah, I don't like putting my characters in peril, and I just want everybody to be happy. But I know that doesn't make a good novel, so I'm realistic. I love editing, and I've just had so much fun getting to know the authors that I'm working with. My only complaint is I live in the country, and we've had a bunch of windstorms lately, and I've had like 5 outages in the last 2 weeks. And I work in the evenings mostly because I do my artwork during the day. And every time I go to start editing, my electricity goes off, and I know my authors are getting very impatient with me. You know, you need electricity.
Well, I'm sure they will grow to understand. So yeah.
The joys of living in the country.
Peter, how about you? What got you first into writing and then subsequently editing?
I think I got into writing just to see if I could do it. To see if I could write a story. And I'd written short stories in high school, in grammar school and high school. And I got this idea to write a novel about martial art. And I'm like, can I do this? Can I make a full novel out of this? And like I said, I was living alone at the time, so I had no distractions. So I pounded out the keyboard and turned it into a novel. And I shopped it around to a bunch of different agents or editors. And one of them said, learn your craft. I mean, you have talent, you just don't have craft. So then I started going to workshops and programs and eventually got my MFA. And I'm like, now I know what I'm doing, and this is what I want to do. So those are kind of my beginnings. I wrote 4 novels before I got this missive from this agent saying, learn your craft. So I've been doing that ever since. And, this is kind of where I'm at. And as far as editing, I blame you because you're the one that says, hey, do you want to edit for me? And I'm like, yeah. So I've had a blast editing ever since, 2018, 2019, whatever. So, I mean, I see things in the manuscript that I don't see in my own writing. So it's fascinating to fix a novel or a chapter or whatever like that to make it that much better because the author is simply unable to see it at that moment or in that space of time because they're too close to it. So by calling attention to it, I'm pulling them back and letting them look at it from a fresh point of view and make it that much better so that collaboratively their book is that much better for them because of it. And that is just rewarding as all get out. So it's been very much a gift to edit.
That's awesome. How about you, C?
So
what
I
got
always
you into writing and then subsequently
for writing, I always wanted to write. I just always knew that I did. My mom was finishing up her dissertation when I was 5 years old. So she was always in her room typing, yelling at the typewriter a lot because every time you made a mistake, you had to start all over again. So there's a lot of screaming sometimes, but she would write And she got me a Holly Holley typewriter, and I just typed out my name over and over and over again. And I loved it. I loved typing my name, and I loved paper, and I loved the smell of the ink and everything about it. So then, as I was in school, I loved writing. And then I found out in middle school, high school, you can win awards for your writing. So I was in 4-H, and I entered the safety speaking contest, the health and safety speaking contest. So I would write the speech, and then they even had like cooking demonstration ones. And so I'd write these speeches, and I'd memorize them, and I'd march myself around the stage at the Ohio State Fair. I thought I was something. And I would win prizes to Disney World and things like that. So I was like, this is really cool. This is really fun. And I loved it. And then when I was in my senior year of high school, I thought, I want to work for a newspaper. So after school, I put together this resume of all my 4-H projects and all my speeches that I had written. And I walked into the editor's office and I said, I'd like a job after school as a part-time reporter. And they said, sure. So I did that for a little while through college as well. And then I got into teaching, and teaching is basically writing. You're writing lesson plans. You're trying to figure out a million ways to captivate your students' attention so that they don't, revolt, walk out of the room, hate you, to write you terrible evaluations. So that was a part of the writing as well. And then I moved from Ohio to Washington State, and there was no more teaching really. I didn't have a job here, but I was like, what if I wrote fiction? And I thought, I'll just start small. And I started writing, short stories. And then I started to get onto literary magazine panels as readers, and then an editor. And I fell in love with the editing, because that was your chance to really see how stories worked, to really work with authors, and to see all kinds of stories and really think about, well, what makes a story? Why is this story so different from this one, but there's still a story? What is it that holds it together? And to have these conversations with other editors and authors. Well, I don't think that this was successful because of this. And I'm like, oh, but I see where it is, And so it's kind of fun to have those conversations. So yeah, editing kind of grew from writing. So you get to see it from both sides. And I always say I use editing as an excuse to not write, and writing as an excuse to not edit. So it works back and forth. It works both ways.
Okay. And how about you, Ben? What brought you to us?
I was in the second grade.
Uh-oh.
There I was in the second grade. And we were watching the Hitchcock movie, The Birds. And and the last scene, they just kind of drive off. And my sister said something like, and she was 6 years older than me. She still is 6 years older than me. I can't catch her.
It did change.
But she said, that's a typical Hitchcock ending. And something about a typical Hitchcock ending of people just driving off and not really answering any, providing any answers, made me sit down and write a story about a box that was open, and something about it lured a person to the box, and then the person fell in the box and the lid closed. The end. and it went from there. I have no problem putting my characters in peril. I've been known to chop up children and put them in pumpkins. Lop the head off a little girl with Santa Claus's machete. Yeah, so typical Ben ending. But speaking of rewards, in the sixth grade, I showed Mrs. Stiff a couple of poems. I don't even know why I showed them to her, but she was a genius and she appreciated them. And gave me the sixth grade creative writing award. It was a little lapel pin and a scroll and a quill. And so I said, well, this is kind of cool. And it was a talent that I never really thought about applying or being part of my persona. But then in college, I had the requirements for a degree in philosophy taken care of, and Ronald Reagan was paying for it. So I went across campus to get a double major in psychology. And that lasted as long as it took me to say Sigmund Freud is an idiot. and they sent me back across the campus, and I said, well, what can I double major in? And I found out that you could get a degree in creative writing. I said, what? Who knew? So that was the double major in philosophy and creative writing. They went hand in hand, and I didn't have to put up with Sigmund Freud. And then just along the way, some GI the bill money, the GI Bill money was still left over. So I got the MFA in creative writing, and that kind of made me feel more comfortable about sending stuff off and having the confidence to stand by it. And that led me to Running Wild Press with a novella called The Cuban that I asked Lisa, are you sure you want to publish it? And she said, yeah. And not only do I want to publish The Cuban, I want you to maybe think about editing for us. So again, just like Peter, it's your fault, Lisa. And, so I said, yeah, sure. So I took the test. I passed the editing test, the dreaded Lisa Kastner editing test. And
I love that test.
Yes. And the first book I edited was Tone Milazzo's The Faith Machine.
Oh,
And-
yeah.
And he had it edited and screened and read and reread. And so I was thinking, I'm not sure what value I'm adding here, but I started into it and then started making suggestions that he didn't think about, he hadn't thought about. So I said, well, maybe I do add value and I can do this editing thing. So send me another one. The second one was Legendary. And then the memoir, Something is Better Than Nothing. And I said, well, I'm 3 deep now. I might as well just stick to it.
Now,
Lisa
What?
is very good. Lisa is very good at twisting arms.
I'm very polite, I think.
But persistent. In a good way.
Mhm.
So I was going to ask, why don't one of you guys describe the test you had to go through to be an editor for folks? I think it's
Lot of
better
math
from your
involved.
perspective than me.
Yeah, the first phase
Oh,
was
like me.
the first phase was here's a book or here's 3 chapters or so, 2 chapters, whatever it was. What would you recommend? What changes would you make?
Mhm.
And I said, well, you need to put your characters in peril, and can we cut off any body parts and stick them in a pumpkin? No, I
Didn't.
No, I didn't. That was the first phase, and then the second phase, I think there was another piece to actually go through and do the line edits and catch the mistakes, or what would you recommend? That's kind of what I remember.
Cecilia, what was the one you went through? Because I have a feeling you went through the more common one.
I can't remember what the title was exactly. I think it was Blue. Blue was in the title somewhere. I forget what it was, but I remember I really liked it because it was almost surreal in a way. And so I really had to pay attention to, what was going on and there were several different narrative lines in there. And so I was really paying attention, but mostly, I liked it just the way it was, but I was like, thinking of new ideas to put in there. Maybe we can explain this a little bit more. We could expand on this, or wouldn't this make a great chapter? So those kinds of things, those kinds of suggestions. I was looking for bigger things rather than just line editing, although there was a little bit of that. I did a little bit, but I was like, this isn't where I would be right now at this point. But I did recommend accepting it. And then I I went back later and I looked at your website and it was accepted. I was like, oh, that was a good call. Oh, that was a good call. It was accepted. So I was like, yay me. But it was a really good book to begin with. So I felt like a lot of my suggestions were subjective. But sometimes that's the thing. That's the new angle that you give it, the new spin, the magic that happens when you collaborate with an author, where you get to bounce ideas off of one another. And sometimes when they're incorporated, it takes on a whole new shape that you didn't see before that still works. So yeah, it was a fun test. I loved it.
And Barbara didn't do any kind of test because we worked together.
Go way back.
We go way back. Yeah. And I still remember I was like, would you consider editing this? And that was Mickey the Giveaway Boy. And I still remember, I think you were like, oh, hell yeah. This is great.
He was a challenging author to work with.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. I bet.
That was fun.
His is it's still our biggest seller. And he passed away, what, like 3 years ago, something like that?
At least.
Yeah. At least, yeah. So yeah, Peter, I think you went through a similar test as Ben did. Which was called yeah. I was gonna say, it was like I pretty much knew from working with you both on your own work that you had solid editing skills. That's why I asked you guys. So I kind of knew, unless you turned around and said, this is, this thing is complete crap, and you basically rewrote it into your own voice, then I knew I was going to bring you on. So yeah.
Blue Woman, Burning Woman. That's what I read.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was awesome.
Cool. Excellent.
Well, it's just so cool to read. Not so much the third draft, but the fifth draft. I usually go through three drafts with the author to see how much the book matures and grows and expands from the work that we've done together to where it's become this whole new entity, while still sticking to the original storyline and the characters, but become much more rich and expansive and much more descriptive in its storytelling. I mean, it's really a transformative experience that I really appreciate being a part of with the author, because it's their work, it's their words. I'm not telling them to say this because, like you just said, that's my voice. It's not my voice in the book. It's their voice. I'm just asking questions, making suggestions. I'm not saying write this way. I'm saying, what do you think about this? Or can you do more here? Can you bring more here? Where are we in the book? Kind of thing, because they're seeing the book in their head. They're not telling the reader what's going on the page. So it's just questions. Really, it's basically just questions.
Yeah.
I find with a lot of authors, they don't trust the reader enough.
Yeah.
Well, and I honestly, a lot of that too is if the author comes from a journalism background, they're actually writing the paragraphs more and the the dialogue more in the style of what you might see in a press release or in an article. And
how?
Right. And it can't work because you're explaining to make sure in those types of situations to make sure that anyone who reads it understands it, versus in creative nonfiction and fiction, you're writing to engage the reader and to keep them going throughout it. Like, you want them to intuit, pieces, but that means that you've got to also be great at leaving those Easter eggs, right? Leaving those little bits of hints that enable the reader to go, oh, I know what's going on. Because when you tell them straight out, it's just boring, So yeah, totally.
I find a lot of authors like over describe, and I try and get them to pick out the most telling points, and let the reader create it in their own heads because it engages them more.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I find that a lot of a few of my authors want really bad. They're like, this is the lesson that I want readers to learn. I'm like, okay, that's good. And I want them to like, they want to hammer it in. I'm like, maybe don't hammer it in, maybe just add a few things. And they're like, I think I need all this backstory. We need to tell this whole person's life. No, you might only need to start it here because that's the fun part as a reader, to just infer what's happening. So yeah, I'm having those discussions a lot with authors. Yeah.
I saw somewhere that said readers have a habit of skimming over sections. So make sure that you don't write the sections that are going to be skimmed over, which you take it out and make them read everything because it's all important and nothing can be skimmed over.
A few of my authors tend to under-describe scenes and situations and events to the point where it's a script. It's not a story. It's not a book. It's a script. It's all dialogue and people's reactions, and they could be standing on a soundstage for what's going on because we have no idea where they are. And like I said before, the author sees the whole scene in their head, but they're not giving it to the reader. So there's no context, there's no chance for Easter eggs, there's no chance for hinting. It's all dialogue. And page and page and page. It's like in certain circumstances, yes, that fits. But if you don't establish the scene at the beginning or allude to it during the scene, you've completely lost the reader because we have no idea where we are. It's just two voices talking randomly or three voices talking randomly in the ether.
Another really common is I see this more so in because I judge a lot for like different awards and stuff. Barbara, I'm going to be one of the two final judges for Penn Writers Writing Contest this year. They just sent me the top 10. Yeah. But a really common mistake is writing passive sentences. And that's another one that I think people aren't aware that we tend to speak passively because it's non-confrontational, right? But in writing, it's inactive. It does not enable the reader to be engaged and to really feel like they're part of the story. And I think a lot of, especially beginning writers, they don't realize they're doing it, right? They're just writing what's in their head, or how they might speak it. And like I had one mentee with a writers organization. I said, I want you to go through and highlight every sentence that it's I was blah blah blah, or there was, so anything that's passive, you don't have an active verb engaged within the sentence. And then I want you to rewrite the whole thing. I never saw her again. Because I think I scared the hell out of her, right? Because the thought, because I could see it, right? Because I don't think she had an active sentence in the whole thing. But I think having her actually telling her, okay, you have to actually highlight every single passive sentence, and then you have to rewrite it to be, an active sentence. And I gave her some examples. It was like, I think she just got freaked out, and I don't know if she came back.
Well, that's the difference between telling and showing.
What was like? Agreed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And how? What's the most common when you guys are like working with editors, or not editors, writers, or you have possible mentees in different forms? Because I know, Cecilia, you do a lot of judging for like short fiction,
Mhm.
what's the most common style errors or craft errors that you found?
Like all of a sudden the perspective will shift or the tense will shift. And I'm like, where am I? What's happening? Like I'm pulled out of the story immediately. And I noticed that with my own writing too. When you're writing, you go along and I'm like, oh, I switched the tense or I switched the perspective, and it happens. But going through really, really carefully and making sure that that perspective, you can switch perspectives, but it needs to be clear how that's happening. You can switch verb tenses, but you may need a break. You may need to figure out how you do that. So yeah, all of a sudden as a reader, I'm like, where am I? What's happening? I'm lost. Yeah.
How about you, Barbara? What's the most common errors that you found?
A lot of writers want to tell you all the backstory right up front, or put in a prologue, and I'm like, nobody likes prologues but writers. Editors mostly, we don't like them, and readers don't like them. And it's like, it's far better to work in the backstory gradually through it. But a lot of writers want to tell you everything up front before they get into the story. And that's just not hard to fix, but that's what I see, often, especially if it's their first novel. They want to set the scene completely instead of, starting where something changes.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a very common error. Yeah. It's like starting where the main character's born. No. We don't really need that. Ben, how about you? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I recently read a nonfiction book because it was about a particular scientific discovery that I was interested in and wanted to know more about. And the author, and I'm suspecting it was self-published or something. He didn't have an editor. First third of the book was how he became a researcher, and it was incredibly boring and very badly written. And it's like, people buying this book don't care how you became a researcher. We really don't care. We just want to know the information. And but that's nonfiction, but still, he did a horrible job. And I thought about writing him a letter saying, don't you have an editor? Didn't an editor help you with this? Right.
How about you, Ben? I'm gonna pick on Ben next.
Yeah, I'm with Cecilia. It's the changing of the tense, like the action and the story being told is happening in the past, but then the narration is being told in the present, and it's an interesting technique that will work, but not in the same paragraph. And it's got to come across as this is a technique I'm using. I'm remembering the story I'm telling, but I'm telling it from now, and I can still talk about now, but they've got to be separate. And sometimes in dialogue, I'll see abbreviations. Abbreviations in dialogue don't work because, take for instance, a military story where in dialogue, the abbreviation for sergeant is not what's being said. They're saying sergeant. So you have to spell it out. Where in the narration, it can be narration, however you say that word. You can use the abbreviation because the reader, that's sergeant. I know that means sergeant, that's GT. And so it's the dialogue sometimes has to change and say, no, you've got to spell that out. You can't leave it up to the reader to know, because that's not what was being said. Stay true to the dialogue.
Can you abbreviate that in the narration?
Say it again.
Can you abbreviate that in like the narration?
And the narration's okay, yeah.
Okay.
Because if I'm reading the narration and I see SGT, I know that the author's telling me Sergeant.
Right.
But if it's being said,
Gotta be
then
said.
it's got to be Sergeant, because you're listening to the dialogue. You got to hear the dialogue. And like Avenue, you can't abbreviate Avenue in dialogue, because they didn't say Ave, they said Avenue.
They didn't say Ave. Worst.
No, it's Boulevard.
Bulbed. Oh my, that's awesome.
Actually, speaking of dialogue, we in a memoir just finished, that we had a good conversation. I had a good conversation with the author about local vernacular, and do you need it? And if it's just the spelling of the word, like get out, you don't have to say GIT out. You can just say get out, because it sounds the same anyway. So there was a point of trying to stress it and make we can pick that up. We can pick up the culture and the language of the culture and the vernacular of the culture through other means, and you don't have to stress it like Brer Rabbit. It doesn't have to read like Brer Rabbit.
Well, and oftentimes the most effective dialogue is it typically has language within it that it's indicative of the vernacular, but it's not completely the vernacular, right? Because otherwise you can easily lose the reader. You're getting the point across. You're getting the characters' intonation, their own unique way of speaking. That's the intent of it. It's not that you are literally transcribing how somebody would actually speak. If you did that, there'd be a lot of ums and uhs and and a lot of repetitiveness and a lot of redundancy that just kills a really effective dialogue. So yeah, that's something that you can pretty much tell when someone's been actually paying attention to how others have had effective dialogue in their work, by how much have they actually crafted the dialogue within their own narratives. So yeah. All right, Peter, I'm picking on you now.
Some of my biggest issues are authors who ease their way into the story. Like there's no tension, there's nothing necessary, nothing needs to happen. It's also we're introduced to the character, and there's this field, and the breeze is blowing, and nothing's happening. And why do we care? I mean, there's nothing to pull us in. We need something to draw us in, and it's not something like an action movie where the scene starts hitting the ground running. But there's got to be something at stake from the very get-go, so that we care about what's going on. And I mean, I'm not saying put characters at peril, like Barbara is loath to do, but I'm saying give them a reason to be there, to need something. Because without need, there's no story. And without story, why am I reading? Kind of thing. And I mean, as far as what local vernacular is, I read a lot of stories where they put these things, local things that are very dear to them, that are familiar to them, and they don't give any explanation for it. They don't give any background. They don't give any description. It's just because they know it so well, they expect their readers to know what's going on as well. I mean, corncob pipe is one example, because we all know what a corncob pipe is. But if it's something that's very strange or very particular to a certain region, and we don't know anything about it, we want to know about it and why it's so pertinent to the story. So, I mean, as you all know, I'm a big fan of description, but the more description that you can put in the story, the more rich you make the storytelling, and the more colorful you make the entire world. So that's what I try to draw out, try to elicit from my authors, is that the color and the surroundings and the description, just so that you create that world, so you know where you are within the story, wherever you're at.
Mm-hmm.
I think some authors, though, put in too much description because they want you to get the exact picture in your head that they have in their head.
Agreed.
And
Totally, yeah.
I think that that's a mistake, because if you give them the most telling things about the person or the scene and let them fill in the rest, it engages the reader more.
Exactly. You know, if you go all John Grisham on it kind of thing, so you know what kind of grain the wood in the courtroom is, kind of thing.
It was
I
interesting.
Authors, you know, think of the three most telling things about the person, you know, or their apparel. I don't need to know everything they're wearing. I need to know the things that you would notice first. And one example I like to give them is, I was reading something or watching a video or something, and this guy said that he walked into he was looking for a gym to join.
Mm-hmm.
And he walked into this one, and in the entryway, they had a 50-foot climbing wall.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that made him know instantly this was the gym for him.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, a telling detail like that. He didn't have to say, you know, they had all this equipment, they had this and they had that. They had a climbing wall in their entryway. And details like that, I think, say more than describing everything, you know, around you. Find the most telling thing. And, you know, a lot of authors, like, they'll be describing something and they found 3 words that are somewhat similar but have, you know, a little bit of difference to them, and they'll put all 3 words in, and I'm like, no, pick one. Pick one that really captures it, and rather than putting in 3, because then you kind of dilute it.
Mm.
Exactly.
It's not adding any value to the actual by having all 3. Yeah. That
No,
makes
it
sense.
slows down the reading.
Mm-hmm.
Detracting, yeah.
I think those descriptions have to add value with a purpose, and,
Yes.
and that's the purpose is what Peter's trying to draw out. You know, describe it, but describe it with the purpose. And Barbara's saying the same thing. What's the key thing you're going to notice? What's the purpose of me writing about it if it's not going to draw the reader into the story and make it work? And
right, like Barbara was saying, she said a 50-foot wall in the entrance. That's really all you need to know about the wall. You can picture it in your own mind of what your wall looks like, but by putting it simply like that, it accomplishes the purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I think some authors still think you get paid by the word. Like Dos Passos he was always writing about the salmon-colored sky. How many salmon-colored skies do you need in one book?
One.
Well, it's money. It's money in the bank. Every word, every time I use it, it's money in the bank. But not anymore.
Yeah, I mean, if you're getting a short story or an article out there with like a major publisher, then but you also got a limit. So I don't know any place that doesn't have limits anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But wow. Well, my goodness, we're just about out of time. As always, this has just been a phenomenal chat. Guys who are watching, whether you're watching now or you're watching the recording, please feel free. Go ahead, share this far and wide with all your friends. Let them know about Running Wild with us and ask us anything. We are here on Thursdays from 5 to 6 p.m. Pacific time, 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern time. And honestly, we're located across the country. So you're going to get an interesting wide variety of perspectives and power outages lately. So with that, again, thank you guys, and I will see you next time. Excellent.
We
Ciao.
Ciao.